Welcome back to Working Class Apologetics. In this video, I want to give a little background to myself and the journey that brought me here. Let's get to work. I was born into a family with a very traditional Catholic background. And although the household I was brought up in wasn't the strictest Catholic household, I did learn that Catholic foundation. We prayed together, we talked about the Lord, and I definitely had a very faith-based upbringing. Now in 4th grade, I started attending a private Catholic school. This wasn't a large school like you might see in some of the old movies or anything. There was no long corridors or the nuns walking everywhere in habits. No, it was a very small school, very small classes, but I look back fondly on those years. I made some really great friends, I had got a good education, and my faith really did grow. And just like I was brought up, it was through that Catholic lens. And I also grew up in a very Republican household. My parents were always interested in current events and stayed up to date on politics, but after 9/11, Fox News was pretty much a staple on the TV in the living room. And I'd say that was probably true for a lot of Republican households. And so my faith was really based in Catholicism, and my understanding of politics and some of the secular issues was really based in Republicanism. Now, around the age of 13, as I was kind of transitioning out of middle school, I came across a copy of a documentary film called Loose Change. Now, I don't want to go down a 9/11 rabbit trail here in this video, but the reason I bring it up is because up to this point in my life, I wasn't really skeptical of what I was being told. I didn't really ask questions of why I believed what I believed or if I should trust those in authority. Around this same time, I was also getting into punk rock. I started off with really light pop punk bands, but I was transitioning into more of your hardcore underground street punk bands. And I don't want to bring this up because I'm trying to blame music or I'm a victim of the music I listen to, nothing like that. I've always loved music. I get really deeply invested in it. And so some of the themes in the music I was listening to are going to go hand in hand with sort of the trajectory of my worldview throughout these years. One of the big themes in punk rock is very anti-establishment, anti-government, especially around that time period, anti-Republican. And so all these new questions I was having and the skepticism I saw towards the Republican Party was really just being affirmed by the music I was listening to. And so I started off on this path of self-research, which a lot of people are skeptical of, but it's important that people take the time to really try to understand why they believe what they believe on their own, come to informed decisions on their own. Up to this point, I hadn't really done that at all either. And so all this sort of mixed together to send me off on a path towards trying to find this objective truth that I knew had to be out there somewhere. And another major theme in a lot of the music I was listening to was atheism, specifically anti-Christian. So as I started researching into sort of the untold history, the things I hadn't learned, the corrupt side of the world, naturally I was coming across corruption in the Vatican, sort of the dark stains in the papacy, the Jesuit society, all sorts of things like that. And it's important to remember that at this time, Catholicism and Christianity to me were pretty much synonymous. I had learned about the Protestant Reformation, I knew people of other denominations, but all that seemed like sort of fringe outline Christianity, and that the overall umbrella of Christianity was Catholicism. And other people who grew up Catholic probably understand that, and some might even accept that. But for me, so now all these objections toward Catholicism were becoming objections towards my faith. And all the information I was finding online was coming from these sort of surface level skeptics who were just making broad objections, asking questions but not giving arguments. But see, I wasn't having a lot of influence from the Christian side answering this. I had now gone into a public secular high school, so I didn't have a religion class that I could bring these topics up and get pushback in. I wasn't going to my parents with these questions. I was kind of in that awkward phase where you didn't want to go to your parents with a lot of these big questions. And so I was mainly getting influenced in the negative side. Now, I was never able to just abandon my faith completely and adopt sort of an atheistic worldview. Naturalism has never made logical sense to me when you play it out. The idea that all there is in the universe is the matter that it's made up of has huge gaping holes when you compare it to what we know about reality. And I was always interested in the supernatural realm, and I just couldn't let go of this transcendent creator that I grew up believing in. And so I sort of landed in this agnostic spirituality mixed with progressive Christianity. I wasn't going to be one of these arrogant Bible-thumping Christians who push their views on people. I believed, but how could I know more than everybody else? And Jesus just wanted us to love everybody anyways, right? Why should I hate people over differences in religion or dogma? And so this was kind of the outward projection of my faith that I was presenting. I didn't really have confidence in these questions and statements. They really kind of clashed with the conservative traditional value system that I was raised in. At the end of the day, I was still always left with these questions of what do I believe and why? And so I took these questions very seriously, and I sort of started going down a path of studying apologetics before I ever even knew what apologetics was. I started, cross-examining sort of worldviews and religions and these different ideas. And more over time, over and over again, I was coming to the point where Christianity was really summing up reality way more than anything else. There were definitely reasons to believe in the faith that I had in me. So as I was sort of leaving my teens, coming into my 20s, I was having this confidence now of why I believed in Christianity, but I was still living a socially liberal life, still trying to fit in with the world around me. And so I was walking in the flesh much more than I was walking in the Spirit. But thankfully, the Spirit never let go and kept guiding and convicting me. And then when I was around 21, I met my wife. We soon started dating, and she came from a very Christian background as well. Kind of a mix of Protestant beliefs, a little Baptist, a little Pentecostal, but mainly like a non-denominational style Christianity. And so as I would engage with her and her family about different denominational beliefs and this and that, I started to realize that I really did not know the Bible near as well as I thought I did. Throughout all this time of researching, I had really gained confidence in the reliability of the Bible, why we can trust and believe the Bible, but I wasn't really digging into it myself. And I kind of looked back and I realized too that growing up, even through Catholic school, I never really learned good Bible study technique. I learned about the tradition of the Catholic Church, about the dogma and doctrine, and sort of studied the Bible itself, but again, never learned good Bible study technique. So my understanding of Christian theology and doctrine was really kind of subjective. And I thought, if I'm going to be consistent with this sort of conservative, grounded value system that I believe in, I can't be so subjective. I'm going to have to be more objective, and that meant I'm going to have to start studying the Bible. So I started doing that, started trying to just begin by reading more, started praying more, trying to build this foundational relationship with God. And I was still researching online, and I was coming across Frank Turek, Ken Ham, Kent Hovind, young earth creationists, old earth creationists, philosophers, doctors, all these different people. And I kept seeing the word apologetics. And I was really thinking, as embarrassing as this is to admit, I was thinking, why should I be apologetic about my faith in Christ? Why should I apologize for my beliefs? In the context of the videos it was associated with and the titles, I started to think, maybe I'm not understanding this correctly either. So I looked into it, and yes, I was totally wrong. And so I started researching Christian apologetics. And this really just flung the doors wide open for my understanding of Christianity. The evidential cases, the proofs, the scholarly work that goes back centuries, it started building me up in my faith and making me stronger, having a stronger relationship. And it wasn't because I needed these reasons to have faith, but how could I not be so confident after seeing all this laid out in front of me? And so now that I was more confident and more bold, I was beginning to engage with people at work, with friends and family, and I just realized very quickly how little people are being exposed to apologetics, to reasons for belief. A lot of apologists are super intellectual, very, very smart, And their material comes across that way. And I enjoy that. I like long videos going deep into topics. I can watch debates. Not a lot of people are interested in that. And not a lot of people in the working class have time for that, balancing work and family and all the other things we have to do. And so at some point, I was listening to J. Warner Wallace. He's the author of Cold Case Christianity. He has a podcast by the same name. And he was talking about becoming good Christian case makers. And the man is very smart. He knows his stuff very well. But it's probably due to his detective background. He just had a very blue-collar approach to how he came across with his apologetics. And it felt like home. I've always been a nerd. I love reading. I love learning about history, things like that. But I've been raised working class. I'm in the working class. And maybe I understand enough about both worlds that I can kind of meet in the middle and bridge that gap and bring the working class this information that they're so desperately needing. Men and women all across the board are constantly getting objections and reasons to not be a Christian, but they're not getting exposed to the powerful reasons to be Christian. And so people, when they're doubting and being skeptical of their own faith, or when people are pushing at them with questions and they don't have the answers, that validates the atheists and the skeptics, and it makes other people question Christianity even more. And it's just this cycle of not having the information that they need. And so that's my goal, to try to bring all this apologetic reasoning and answering objections in a working class way. Now, at the beginning of this video, I kind of talked about how my foundation was in Catholicism and Republicanism, but that was really more of just the surface level lens that I had. The foundation that I was given, that I was brought up in, was conservative Christianity. And here I am, at 30 years old, a conservative Christian raising a working class family, hoping to help you defend your faith. I'm Derek Brown for Working Class Apologetics. Thanks for watching.